All right. Well, I'm not much of a videographer or much of a gearhead, but I wanted to make a video of all the stuff that I'm going to be taking with me on this attempt that I have going of doing a yo-yo of the Appalachian Trail starting at the Pinhoti. Again, obsessing over gear and weight has never really been something that I'm super interested in, but I did work at REI this past fall and I guess early winter. And so I was able to upgrade pretty much everything that I've ever used for backpacking. I did do the Appalachian Trail successfully in 2019 with gear that was probably, for the enormity of the task, suboptimal. And so I've gone through and I've tried to sort of upgrade the items that I thought I should and could in order to make this trip a little bit more appropriately prepared for. So I'm basically going to go over all these things that I have laid out here, pretty typical format for this kind of thing. I will do it in such a way that I'm actually loading my backpack as I go, and then I'll go ahead and get a general base weight at the end. So, again, this is just something that I think a lot of people are interested in. It is an important part of the whole journey, and this is by no means the best setup for most people, or even in some cases myself. But this is what I've got. This is what I'm going to go with. I've done a lot of shakedown hikes with this. During my time living in Asheville most recently, I went for 12 at least one night overnight backpacking trips through the Smokies, pretty much every area within like an 80 mile perimeter around Asheville, maybe diameter or something. But suffice it to say, this gear has left me feeling comfortable and capable of what this trip is going to require. And so, for no other reason at least than, I guess, perpetuity or posterity, this is a good little thing to do. So we'll start with the pack. It's an Osprey Atmos 50-liter pack. The first time I did the Appalachian Trail, I had an Osprey Atmos 65-liter, which was probably 15 more liters than I think I ended up needing. And one of the things about having a bigger pack is that it encourages you to take more stuff. So one of the things I wanted to do when I was preparing for this hike coming up was to get a pack that was somewhat smaller, not like drastically smaller, because I do have, I think I have a 55 liter, which I guess is bigger than this one, but it runs the gamut of different literages, and I wanted to get something that would force me to downsize a little bit and to make some upgrades that I had previously been sort of reluctant to do since I had that access and availability at REI. So 50 liter Osprey Atmos. I'm also not going to weigh any of this stuff. I really don't care how much it weighs. I mean, ideally, everything will be as light as possible. But at the same time, there's a trade-off there between durability and weight. And for me personally, I'd rather have a few extra pounds and feel like my gear is going to make it all the way to Maine and back. And so I've heard Ospreys described as the Cadillac of packs. And after using one for a long time, I kind of get it. I haven't done a lot of hiking with other types of packs, so I really don't have much to compare it to. But I do know that the way it rides just kind of reminds me of how I used to have a converted van, and people would say it drove like a boat, and I never really understood what that meant. But it kind of like, similarly with this pack, it's just like it's smooth the way it kind of rides on your body. It softens the edges, and of course, in order to get that kind of a thing, you have to have a little bit more weight, a little bit more structure to the pack itself. Aside from that note, the only thing I think I've added to this, well, I've added a couple things actually. So I've got this Hyperlight. This is probably the most ultralight piece of gear that I have. Little phone pouch thing, and this is actually where I keep my headlamp, and then some Vaseline for like my hands getting dry, and sunscreen. So I guess I'll go ahead and put those items in there, and I can just talk about them as they go in. So this is my headlamp. It's a BioLite headlamp. Let me make sure it's actually off. It's not off. So let's turn that off. It's not locked. This is a huge light. It's definitely pretty heavy considering what I guess is more popular for people for their headlamps these days. I know that night core thing is like really popular, but I went out to the Smokies once during one of my overnights. Foolishly, it was at, what was it? Oh man, I forget the name. Stratton Mountain, I think. And there was like this fire tower, and I wanted to go drink a beer up there. So I left all my gear down by where I had pitched my tent at this, specific site in the Smokies that you have to reserve and pay for ahead of time. And while I was up there, a bear came by and ate my Fritos. Took my whole bag of unopened Fritos and walked away. And so I felt like a real piece of shit right then, because obviously not only had I fed a bear, and a fed bear is a dead bear, but I knew that that bear wasn't obviously going to be throwing away the trash after he did whatever he was going to do to my Fritos. So that was a bummer, and basically I was up kind of late in the evening with my headlamp at the time, which was like a smaller version of this BioLite that had, I don't know, I think it was less than 1,000 milliamp hour battery, and it was only 350 lumens. This is 750 lumens, and it's got like almost a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. And so that night, when the bear came by, I had my headlamp on for a really long time because I was trying to look for this bear. I was trying to see if he had dropped my Fritos, and he did end up coming back later that night, and I had to like literally chase him down the trail. I was so pissed. I was just like, man, I have zero fear in this situation. You're going to end up making this situation bad for yourself. And it was just a mess. And so after that trip, I was like, I want a better headlamp. I don't care how much it weighs. I want it to last a really long time. I want it to be super bright. And I want to be able to find bears if they steal my Fritos in the future. So, headlamp. Got them. And then the other two items that I mentioned that this bag holds, I also usually put trash here in the mesh area throughout the day, which is a good spot to put it. Yeah, other than that, got a little bit of suntan lotion, and again, for like cracked hands, a little tube of Vaseline. Very helpful. When I did the AT in 2019 in the Smokies, my ears got really sunburnt, like really, really badly. And it's kind of hard to notice in the moment because it's so cold out. But like you have, your ears are exposed all the time. And I just remember going to bed later the night that my ears got burnt, and I was just like putting my head on my pillow, and I was like, man, my ears hurt. I don't understand what's happening. And then a few days later, they started to actually peel and stuff like that. So, you got to use sunscreen in the winter, even when you're not necessarily thinking that that's like the first order of business for skincare during that time, because you're just always being exposed to the sun, especially before all of the foliage comes back in the spring. So that's that. Let's see, where else should we go from here? I do put a contractor bag inside of my pack. Keep things dry as much as possible. I did this on the AT the first time, and it was very successful. And aside from it being a little noisy and annoying to listen to, I think it's a really good thing. Just a really cheap way for a little extra security. I do have a pack cover here that, is probably not 100% effective per se, but, when it comes to trying to keep all of your stuff dry, especially out here on the East Coast, anything that you can do to improve your chances of staying dry is to your benefit, especially with a down sleeping bag or down clothes, or clothes period. You don't want your clothes to be wet. So I also have this rain cover. I guess, let's see, what should we do? Maybe sleep system from here. One of the things about the Osprey packs too that I absolutely love, sarcasm noted, is that they never stand up. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I always just suck at packing. That's a very high possibility. But I'm never able to keep my pack in a vertical orientation so that I can pack it easily. I always have to sort of straddle it or put it up against a wall. So I guess for now I'll put it sort of maybe out of frame for a moment so it doesn't fall. And we'll move on to sleeping bags. Sleeping system. So I'll start with these two elements first. I love this pillow. Like, this is actually legit, like a very comfortable pillow that I would choose to sleep on if I had to choose, like, I don't know, a travel pillow or whatever. Like, I sleep so well on this pillow. This is the Nemo Pillow, and the one that I replaced it with, the one which I replaced it, with, that was like a really shitty, I think maybe Sea to Summit, maybe even, could have even been REI brand, don't remember, but it was just like a very uncomfortable pillow. This has like actual foam and soft coating to it. It's just so comfortable. Like I really, it's a little heavier obviously because it's like got a lot of material to it, but you know, you got to think about when you're going to be out there on the trail sleeping in the woods for the most part, like a good night's sleep is kind of worth whatever you have to do in order to get it, because that's going to really dictate the following day, how well you're able to hike and how far, how fast, and how good you feel during it. So, got this pillow, love it. I sleep cold, so you know, I actually have probably more clothes than I maybe should, and that also includes like a sleeping bag liner for me. I really don't like being cold at night, and when my friend Ben, shout out to Ben, introduced me to the Appalachian Trail back in 2018, and we went and did the Georgia section in early March, there was a moment at Woods Hole Hostel, or not hostel, but the shelter, rather, and it was rainy, it was cold, it was windy, and I had a 30-degree synthetic Kelty bag, and I was so fucking cold. And the next day from Woods Hole, we went into Neal's Gap and went to Mountain Crossings, the outfitter. And I was like, I don't care how much money I have to spend. I don't care how heavy this item is going to be. I'm going to get some sort of a sleeping bag liner because I was miserable last night. Probably one of the worst nights of sleep of my life. Just like, you're unable to sleep. You can't fall asleep because of how uncomfortable your body is. And that's just a bad place to be. So I bought this sleeping bag liner at Neal's Gap, Mountain Crossing Outfitters. And I've basically kept it with me ever since. I've never not had this for every trip I've been on. It's just another, you know, a literal layer of comfort, mentally and physically. I don't know how much it actually helps. I mean, I think this is supposed to be like a 15-degree addition to whatever bag you have. I'll make sure I'm still recording, because that'd be a bummer. Looks like we're good. So yeah, a little extra weight, but especially starting in late February, I'm not really sure what the weather's going to be like. So I don't really want to take any chances when it comes to me being warm at night. That sucks, and that's worth the wait. So go ahead and stash these into the pack. And we'll move on to the sleeping bag. This was one of the most notable upgrades from the time that I worked at REI. My hiking partner, Allie, shout out to Allie, she had this bag. She'd gotten it at a garage sale, and it did her really well. I think she had it for the Trans-America bike ride, and then a bunch of other things that we did after that. And it was a very capable and warm sleeping bag. It's a 15-degree down bag from REI. It's called Magma, aptly named, and it weighs like 1.5 pounds. This was a huge splurge for me. I had been really holding off on getting a down sleeping bag for a long time. Again, mostly because of stubbornness and stupidity, but also I just don't like the idea that if it gets wet, it really doesn't help you. The insulated value goes way down. But, you know, doing this trip, I had this old synthetic bag, and it weighed like 3 pounds, and it wasn't particularly warm. It was the same one I had on the Appalachian Trail when I did it in 2019, which also resulted in me needing to get that sleeping bag liner. So getting this bag shed a lot of weight, and it's really, really warm. I actually use it still to this day as my comforter every night. I really, really like it. Again, super lightweight. An interesting thing that I learned while I was at REI, and I'll explain this while I pack this into my pack. The ISO International Standard something or another for rating sleeping bags, like if you have an ISO rated bag that says it has a certain degree of warmth, that is dependent on that sleeping bag being used with a standard R-value sleeping pad, which is a 4.8. And I don't use inflatable sleeping pads. I always use the foam ones, which have usually like an R value of like 1.8 to 2, if not just a little over 2. I think mine, which I guess I'll get to next, is a 2 R value. The Nemo Switchback over there. So although this is technically a 15-degree bag, because of my sleeping pad choice, I think it's actually less warm than that, and so that's something to keep in mind. You know, the number on the bag doesn't necessarily correspond to how warm you will be in certain temperature conditions, unless you have the exact same conditions for your sleep system that were used to test it. So, that being said, Nemo Switchback, not my favorite pad. I don't know, I mean, I had a Thermarest Z-Lite pad when I did the AT in 2019, and it seems like, I don't know if it's a matter of the pad or if it's a matter of the tent material, but this pad plus that tent is a lot of sliding. There's like very, very little friction, and that was never a problem when I was on the AT in 2019 when I had my REI tent, Passage 1, and then my Thermarest Z-Lite sleeping pad. Those two, there was enough friction there to where the pad itself wasn't moving around. So that is a little annoying, and I'm not willing to change either my pad or my tent at this point. It's good enough, this pad. I'm not really going to be too upset about it in any case, but it is something that I noticed, at least with, again, this specific combination of gear. So, you know, take it for what it's worth. Oops. I usually attach my sleeping pad last, so I'll leave that over there. So I guess I typically pack my clothes after my sleeping stuff, so we'll go to the tent in a little bit. But let's go with, I guess, worn items so far up to this point. So I'm a big fan of buffs. I wear buffs all the time, regardless of what's going on. So we'll have a buff all the time on. I love my PFG. And yeah, I mean, it provides you sun protection. You can roll the sleeves up if you get hot. You can open the front so you can cool off of your engine. It's just a very multi-purpose and multi-function shirt. It's gotten me through many, many adventures. This one not particularly. I got this one not too long ago, but I wore a shirt just like this on the Appalachian Trail in 2019. Wore it for the Trans-America Bike Ride, for the Southern Tier, for the Florida Trail. Every adventure I've been on, I have worn a PFG, and it's never steered me wrong. So throw those two items over there. I will also be wearing these tights and or these shorts. These are like kind of stupid. You know, they're custom, you could say. They were some like North Face shorts, and these were like the liners for them, but I didn't like the puffiness of the previous short material that was this color, so I cut that off, and then now I have like these cool liners that have a little pocket on the side, as do these tights. Having pockets on your side is really a nice thing to have. I'm not trying to go too much out of order here, but I do carry pepper spray all the time with me. It's like just sort of something that I started doing when we were in Allie and I, Kentucky. We were doing the Trans-America Bike Ride. There were a lot of bad dogs out there, and I will not let a bad dog ruin my day, ruin my trip, or ruin, I mean, to a certain degree, my life. I mean, if a rabid dog bites you, that can be problematic. And so first line of defense is usually my water bottle. A lot of dogs, I've noticed, especially while biking, if you give them a good spritz in the face with a water bottle, they'll pretty much stop instantly and recalculate what they're doing. And that pretty much usually gives you enough time to get away from them as they sort of confusedly, I don't know, lick their face and figure out if this is like acid or whatever the dog does when it gets sprayed in the face. But, you know, for the really bad dogs, if the water doesn't work, I've always carried pepper spray ever since Kentucky, like I said. I've never actually had to use it in a practical real-world situation, but it is nice to have it as an option, and there's the added bonus of the two-legged creatures that could bother you. I mean, again, I hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2019, which was when the murder on the trail occurred, and I'm not sure that pepper spray would have helped me if I was in that situation, but I will say I sleep much better with having pepper spray right next to me, for all things considered, animal and human alike. So, always got the pepper spray in the side pocket, easily accessible, doesn't take much to get out and use. So, just a little thing about me, I always got pepper spray. And I should also mention that a lot of my gear, almost all of it is REI brand. Again, I worked at REI this past winter, and so I had access to all of their products at a pretty nice discount. So rather than necessarily getting high price, high quality items, these aren't bad quality, but they do tend to be heavier and a little bit less specialized than the outdoor research stuff, Arc'teryx stuff, what else? Smart wool, I mean, you name it, you know what I'm talking about. But these things are a third of the price, especially if you're an REI employee, and honestly, they get the job done, and that's really all I'm looking for. So I've got this REI fleece, nothing really too spectacular or special to say about it, but I've always had a fleece with me. My layering system is typically like the long underwear, I'll show in a second, which I usually put over my PFG, my fleece, and then a down jacket, and then if it's really cold, I'll put my rain jacket on over that. And so it's just a part of winter hiking I think that's important to have. I know once you get to Damascus, traditionally, that means that you can send your winter gear back. And so this might not end up staying with me the whole time as things get warmer, but we'll see how all that kind of shakes out. Again, I sleep cold, I kind of run cold, so having layers kind of helps me deal with all of that in a very no-duh kind of way. Fleece. All right. Then we got just an REI jacket of the down variety. I think this is like 650 fill. Not particularly warm or puffy, but you got to have a down jacket, and this is the one that I got. I've had gotten one in the past that was like the wrong size, and that was what I used on the Appalachian Trail in 2019. It was too big, so the hood always was like covering my entire face, which is really annoying. The arms were too long, and I thought, again, working at REI, I was like, well, you know, I don't really need another jacket because I have one, but I could definitely get one that fits better, and it was worth it. I fought over that decision for a while. I'm not one who likes to spend a lot of money on gear. Again, not being particularly interested in trying to find the best fit for my purpose. I just want to find a fit that satisfies my criteria, which again, usually is durability and price. You know, I know people obsess over, you know, cutting down weight as much as they can, and I get that, and I have done that, even though it may not look like it too much here. But in any case, yeah, I mean, you know, this is an upgrade for me. And I'm going to move my pack over here so that it's just a little bit more in the frame. Actually, I don't know if this is in the frame, but that's a better spot for it. And I'll go ahead and put my sleeping pad over there as well. It's coming together, y'all. It's coming together. Alright, so is that... Okay, so yeah. Sleep layers, some REI merino wool, long johns, some REI merino wool, long john tops. You know, nothing special. Just, you know, warm, gets the job done. Rain layers. Now this stuff I do think is actually pretty cool, and it rained really bad here in northeast Georgia just the other day, and so I really got a good test of these. I stayed warm and dry for my entire 16-mile walk to the gym that I've been frequenting that has a sauna, so that's been my daily activity to traverse this stretch of US 441 south and go to this gym. 7 miles one way, 7 miles back, usually ends up being a little over 7. But yeah, so wind layers, rain layers, and possibly extra insulative layers at night if it's one of those nights where you put on every piece of clothing that you have. I do want to mention here that I'm going to have 2 pairs of darn tough socks with me. One that I'll wear all the time, and then one that will exclusively be kept dry and in the pack for nighttime stuff. I don't have either one of those out here right now because they're in my car. All my socks are wet and smell bad right now. But in any case, yeah, these are REI branded rain layers, and they have Gore-Tex in them. So I'm just like, for the price, I just like, why would you buy anything more expensive than this? You know, I can't tell you how many people I've seen, like, I think it's Outdoor Research, those, like, what do they call it, Helios, or whatever their really lightweight pants are. I've seen so many people, 2, in fact, who have split the asses of them because those pants are just, like, as soon as you, like, bend over and your butt is, like, squished out, your butt, it breaks the pants, and I'm just like, I don't want to do that. what's the point of having rain pants if your ass is hanging out and you're getting wet? I mean, again, I'll take a little bit of a heavier option that's cheaper, and hopefully they'll remain intact the whole trip. So, you know, it's all my personal philosophy, and I am regrettably opinionated, and I sort of present everything that I think as if it were a fact, but trust me, I'm not that naive or dumb. I do know that this is all just what works for me, and that's the caveat that anyone and everyone always has to say when you do this kind of a video. So, let's move on. I guess at this point, I would usually close up my contractor bag, roll top it a little bit, push it down, and then would move into the tent. So, big Agnes. We got the Fly Creek HV UL1. Another bit of a splurgy purchase. This is a super lightweight tent, super ultra light, whatever. Kind of feels like it may not make it the distance. I did get the footprint for it. It's extremely cozy and comfy. It definitely confines one person and envelops them in a way that is ultra minimal. It's an interesting tent. You know, I had, again, like I said, I had the REI Passage 1 for my 2019 through hike, and that tent did great. I actually gave it to my sibling, and they have it out in, I don't know where they are, Cortez, Colorado right now or something like that. And it's pretty much bomb-proof. It is heavy, which that's always the trade-off, I think, with the way I approach gear. So, you know, again, I always kind of elect to get things that are a little heavier, because I have trust in that durability and construction of materials. I feel like weight equals, what's a good, if there's another W word that meant like longevity. But I feel like you get what you pay for. Well, actually, no, I don't feel like that. In any case, tent's been great. Haven't had any issues with it yet. I did lose the stakes, the original stakes that came with it on one of my, I did the Georgia Loop back, I don't remember when that was, November, December, something like that. And it was a rainy morning, and I left sort of hastily, and I forgot to get my stakes. So those are still out there somewhere. Maybe I'll go rescue them one day, but I've been very impressed with this tent. Haven't had like a real deluge of like torrential rain in it, so I'm not sure how it's going to hold up for actual like weather. It's been all right so far. It's been pretty mild conditions every time I've camped. I've definitely been in rain, but it's not been anything crazy. It comes with 11 stakes, and there are at least 2 guy lines that come out of the side. So I don't know. Again, we'll wait and see. I mean, I'm always, if I have to buy another tent for one reason or another, then I will do that along the way. But I'm hoping that this thing really goes the distance. So far, so good. So, tent goes on top, right here. Holes go in the side. Nice, classic Osprey. Always imbalanced. This thing's starting to shape up. All right, let's see. I guess we'll do cooking system now. I'm kind of electing at this point not to bring any kind of food hanging line, bear line, or anything like that. Didn't really use it for 75% of the Appalachian Trail. Didn't use it for the Trans Am bike ride or any of the other bike rides that Allie and I did. So it's kind of a waste of space, especially because the inevitability of it being unused, especially as you go farther and farther into the trail, becomes greater and greater. So I think I'm just going to carry my food in this bag like I did last time. It's a 28-liter Sea to Summit dry bag. Just got some new fuel recently. I got one of the small canisters, and I was really kind of disappointed how quickly it pooped out. And so this is another one of those things that I do where I just kind of opt for a heavier option because of like what I get out of it. So got that fuel canister. I do like the jet oil fuel canisters because they give you an approximation of how many boils you get for every canister. I don't know if this is legible, but when your canister is at 100% full, you get 55 boils, and then it just goes down from there. But I think that's a cool little feature. It may not be 100% true, but it's nice to know. You know, it's kind of like when people are like, how often should I change the tires on my car? It's like, well, it depends, like, how you drive it, what conditions, etc., like that. But it's nice because, you know, how often will you have to get a new fuel canister? Well, it depends how you cook. Do you have like a heat efficient vessel? Is it windy? Do you have a wind screen? All these things kind of go into those factors. But this is based on maximum boils based on stove use and conditions. So it's just nice to have a ballpark estimate. So there you go, jet boil. Got some trash bags from the trail. I would like briefly to talk about this piece of kit, as the Brits would say, and then we'll get back to the stove and stuff. This is a back flushing coupler for the Sawyer squeeze. It might work for the other ones too, but this is like one of my prized pieces of gear. This thing, if you take it and you screw it onto an outdoor spigot like for a hose, and then you screw your Sawyer on, I'll go ahead and show you. Screw your Sawyer onto one side, and then the other side onto a spigot. They designed this Sawyer so that you can actually use a clean water bottle to back flush your Sawyer or your filter without having to use a little syringe and all that other stupid shit that they give you. That, you know, if you've ever been to any hostel or any place where there's a hiker box, there's one thing you can be assured will be there is Sawyer bags, Sawyer syringes, Sawyer, I guess like little tubes for the gravity thing. All that stuff that comes in the Sawyer squeeze box always ends up in the hiker box, but this piece right here, I've never seen one of these in a hiker box. This is so valuable. I remember someplace with my tramley in 2019 in Maine, I think, and I had gotten a new Sawyer and it came with a coupler, and I was like, oh well, I bet this is threaded to fit on a spigot. And so you put it onto a spigot, and I mean, you just watching the brown water come out is just so satisfying, and I really don't think that you can go wrong with that type of back flushing. I did try to do some research into this because I was kind of worried that, you know, if the pressure of the spigot was too high, it might damage the filaments and fibers inside of this actual filter. But, and again, don't quote me on this, but from what I recall, or at least told myself, what I found was like the average PSI for a household spigot, and then there was a general PSI that this was able to have without causing any damage, and the two did not exceed each other. So take that for what it's worth. It's never been a problem for me. I've never gotten Giardia, knock on wood, wherever some might be, wood floor. Never gotten Giardia, so presumably my filter has always worked, and I've been back flushing it like this with spigots with this coupler since 2019. So love that. One of my favorite things. A hugely valuable piece of gear that I would be very upset to lose and would very, very quickly try to replace. So go ahead and put this over here. Connect that back up. And we'll go to my cook system real quick, and then that'll be that for food. So I have a jet boil that I got from Allie, and the piezo electric thing that used to fit underneath it for making it work stopped working, as they do. Also have a long-handled titanium spoon. One must have a long-handled spoon, I think, to successfully hike any long trail. IMHO. Anyway, jet boil, more efficient than a flat bottom pan, and I combine that with the pocket rocket. So I already had the pocket rocket. The pocket rocket is what I used on the Appalachian Trail and many other trips after 2019. And so using that in conjunction with the jet boil seems to be about the same difference. It seems like it's sort of the best of both worlds. I don't know if it's necessarily lighter or anything like that, but suffice it to say, the combination of the two works for me. And I do like having the jet boil because of those fins at the bottom, more efficient, so you use less fuel to boil the same amount of water. And this is like my do-all cup. I eat out of this, I drink coffee out of this. There's nothing better than tuna flavored coffee the next day after having had dinner. And so yeah, that's my basic food setup. Pack all this stuff back up. It goes on top where the tent is, on the outside, not in with the clothes or the contractor bag or anything. Get the air out of it. We're almost there, folks. Almost there. Oh no! classic. Throw that on top, try to put it to where it doesn't dig into your back, and I think that might be it for the internal parts of the pack. So, go ahead and cinch that up, put this over. I do love having the brain on my pack. Extra storage, at least in that small avenue and capacity, is not something that I shy away from. There's a lot of important stuff that I put in the brain, specifically extra snacks and gloves and hat, and also some electronics and things like that. So, speaking of which, let's see, what should we do next? Let's do the bathroom stuff. So, I keep all my bathroom stuff inside a dry bag. I have some toilet paper that I got from REI that it was like, it doesn't have the cardboard roll in the middle, so it's just all paper, so that's kind of cool. Didn't buy it, it was just in the bathroom. And then I have a little tube of Aquaphor to apply to the rump in the morning before you start hiking. This stuff helps against monkey butt and general chafing and rashes. It's been my go-to for my hiking and stuff like that. Just got a titanium trowel that also doubles as a tent stake, and I never really thought I would use it for that application, but had a friend, shout out Compton, come to Asheville and go on some really cool camping trips with me, and he had neglected to bring one tent stake, and I was like, oh wow, I can actually help you with that. Now, the Deuce of Spades is a popular option for trowels, but I've never used one. Well, I have used one. I borrowed people's to go dig a hole, but I have got a few complaints about it that I think this trowel actually is better at. One, it has these like serrated teeth on it, so when you're digging, the teeth help to cut up the roots and stuff in the soil that you're trying to move out of the way so you can make your deposit. And also the ends of the sides of the trowel itself that you hold, they're curved in so it doesn't hurt your hand. The Deuce of Spade, I can't really get good purchase using it. Maybe I'm just weak and I should have just manned up and gotten stronger. But the way the Deuce of Spades goes out on the sides, it's just a sharp edge. This one is curved over, and so it's actually very comfortable to use. And for me, especially in that moment of urgency, when you're really trying to get in there and make a hole, it's nice to be able to do it as quickly and efficiently as possible. So this, it's a small thing, but it makes a huge difference. Speaking of small things that make huge differences, this is the MVP of my life right now. I love this thing. So this is a portable bidet. I had gotten one of those Kula cleaner things that goes on a smart water bottle, and I used it a few times, but when you spray the thing with the smart water bottle deforms and it won't puff back up for your next squeeze, and this one, when you squeeze it and the water comes out, it will sort of reload with air, so it's easier. I don't really want to be like, having to take the top off of my bidet and like reform the shape of the water bottle so that I can go for another shot. This thing, even though it's a little bit heavier, again, if you're not noticing a theme yet, then pay attention. A little bit heavier, a little bit more like purposefully and over-designed, but man, it works so well. And so this, in addition to having like having some sort of salve to make your butt feel better while you're hiking at the end of the day and everything, it's so essential. I mean, I've actually gotten to the point now where the first thing I'll do when I get to camp is load this thing up with clean water filtered from the Sawyer and apply it to the undercarriage. It's so refreshing to finally be able to just wash all that sweat and grime and everything else away. It's something a wipe can't achieve. It's something that normal toilet paper can't achieve. I mean, it really is a game changer, being able to freshen up. And once you get a little bit more familiar with how to use your body in conjunction with the bidet, it really, really does cut down on the toilet paper usage, which is sort of the cliche that you always hear. It's like, it reduces toilet paper usage by like 80%. And honestly, that's true. I mean, so a huge roll of toilet paper like that might last me a couple months maybe. using this thing appropriately. And I won't get into the nitty-gritty details about how you use this thing appropriately so that you don't have to use as much toilet paper, but suffice it to say, the more you relax and give in, the more effective this thing comes and the less cleanup you have to do. So, that being said, this is an MVP. It's actually kind of still got some water in it right now. I've been using it upstairs as my usual thing that I take with me to the bathroom. I can't get enough. I love bidets. So I'm going to pour this out real quick so I can put it in the pack so it can be part of the total weight. And we'll move on from there. I store this thing upside down in the pack so that it kind of has a natural inclination to dry. I don't know how much it does throughout a given day, but you know, don't really want that thing to be getting moldy or anything like that. So there's my bathroom kit. Good to go. I usually do actually put my my Rei Jacket here out in the front pocket so I can grab it if I need to. I forgot to do that and I accidentally put it inside the pack, but usually that's where it lives. As for stuff that usually goes here, I think we're actually getting close to the end, so I will quickly mention this. Is it going to stay? Nope. Let's put it over here. Oh Lord. I guess I'll do a twofer. So, I got this stuff at REI. I'm not a big fan of like DEET or any of those picaridin or permethrin chemicals that you put on your body. I don't like the idea that these chemicals, I mean, I'm not 100% sure about this, but the way I've heard it described by other people is that usually the idea would be that at the end of the day, if you've put something like DEET or, again, picaridin or permethrin on, you are a person who has access to a shower, so you have the ability to wipe it off, wash it off, clean yourself. And if you're out on trail, it could be 2, 3, 4 days that you might have this chemical on your body, so it's just like leaching into you. And I don't have any idea of anything specific that those chemicals are, any idea how they might be bad for the human body, but if it's, I just don't really trust it. So this is just like, it's called Herbal Armor. I really commiserated for a while about if I should buy this or not, because I'm not going to need it for a really long time in the trail. So I'm going to be carrying around 4 extra ounces for presumably at least 2 months. But I know when the mosquitoes and the ticks and all that other stuff starts coming out, I'd be very happy to have at least something, if nothing else, just to psychologically feel like I'm doing something to combat all of these disease-carrying vectors called insects. Plus, it smells good. You can't say that about DEET or permethrin. It smells like a citronella candle. What's wrong with that? Who doesn't love that? So, that goes out here in the back as well. Accessible. I did upgrade my trekking poles. In 2019, I had 2 pairs of Walmart trekking poles that did a decent job of getting me from Georgia to Maine. They were certainly not the best. I had a lot of qualms with them. They had plastic handles, hard plastic. There was no extension like these black diamonds have farther down to give you a different place to hold on to when you're going up versus down in terms of hills. And so one of the things I did want to treat myself to was a new pair of trekking poles with all of the features I just mentioned. You know, these just seem to be better quality all in all. This one, when I was doing the Pinhoti recently, this trekking pole got a little bent. I fell into a hole. I was night hiking, and I fell into a hole on the other side of a tree, and this one got bent in that process. So it's a little harder to pack up now, but seems like it's still doing all right. And, you know, I think it'll get me down the trail. So nothing too much special about these, but man, good trekking poles are, you know, worth their weight. As long as they're not carbon. All right. Coming down to the wire. I have a wool acrylic hat from REI, just a beanie. Nothing special about this. Just wanted something that wasn't loud. Speaking of which, where is my hat? I have a hat. I don't know where it is. Oh, it's over here. Cool. That's good timing. So, this is my beanie for cold times. Put that up here in the brain for easy accessibility. I will be wearing this hat which is sort of, I think, new for REI. It's like a runner-specific hat, so it's all synthetic. I'd been wearing a bunch of other hats. I lost one, regrettably, my Trek hat, sorry, Zach, when I was walking around in Nashville. I don't really know how, sometimes I just lose shit. But this hat's pretty great. It's very, like, muted and nondescript. Like, when I lost my Trek hat, I was like, man, I don't want to get, like, some fucking stupid loud, like, heavily branded hat. Like, I don't want to be representing North Face or Kavu or all these other brands where it's just like the hat is like mostly a billboard and like less of a hat. Saw this one, I was like, perfect, price point's good, it fits all my other REI gear, it dries quickly, hopefully I won't lose it. But if I do, I suppose it's like, what, 20 bucks or something like that. It's a good hat. I've been digging it. I've never washed it yet. Might not ever. Why do you don't need to wash a synthetic hat. That's true. So, moving on. Get this over here. Alright, man. I've got so much to say about these. I think I'll just quickly mention these as my camp shoe and river crossing shoe. Allie was a big Teva fan. She actually biked cross country exclusively wearing Tevas. I think she wore shoes one time during the whole trip, and that was like 76 days biking across America in pretty much every weather condition you can imagine. She wore Tevas the whole time. I'd never had like a nice pair of sandals. I previously had worn Crocs as my camp shoe, but I hate Crocs. Crocs suck. I don't like them. Maybe I just had the wrong size, but they didn't stay on my foot very well, especially when they were wet. They didn't provide any real traction. I guess maybe I still have a bitter spot in my mind because I also did like a 15-mile walk in Crocs once because my Solomon shoes had become so degraded that they were actually slicing into the back of my heel, making like really bad blisters. And so I walked in Crocs for a day in order to let my feet rest. What a rest that was. Really, really fucked up my Achilles tendon, and I just really don't have anything good to say about Crocs. These are a lot heavier. They have actual grip that's dependable. You can cinch them down, obviously. If you've ever worn sandals, you're not unfamiliar with these qualities. And, you know, I'd rather have something that I can depend on, and Crocs really, really let me down. So, Teva sandals, nothing special about them. They're heavy, they're durable, they're reliable. I don't really use them very often. When I get to camp, I typically just keep my shoes on. My feet haven't been in a bad way yet where I need to get them off my shoes and let my feet breathe or like tend to blisters or anything like that. So those are really more so about having them when I need them, and yeah, so that's that. That's where they live, right there. Got a custom-made seat pad from my old Thermarest Z-Lite. You can even still maybe see those are my initials, since everyone seems to have the same pad. It's good to know which one is yours, but when I got my Nemo pad, I cut up my old Z-Lite and made a bunch of seat pads for myself and for coworkers at REI. And so this, for easy access, lives right here. I also like that it's kind of like yellow, you know, not kind of, but it's very yellow, and I typically wear like a lot of black, and so it's nice to have something for hunters who, for some reason, are unable to distinguish a animal from a human. It's nice to have something that is an unnatural color so that when they see a bipedal creature, they don't accidentally miscount the number of legs on the ground. So that's one little thing. Also, it's accessible, so that's nice. I guess we'll go into water real quick. So one of the biggest game changers in terms of the daily weight that you're carrying that I realized, when did I even realize this? I guess it was in New York in 2019 on the AT. You don't have to carry water all the time, especially on the AT. There's such a thing as cameling up, which is drinking like at least a liter whenever you're at a water source, so that you have a liter inside of you. You can bring some with you if you really want to, if you know that the stretch is going to be dry or whatever the case may be. So you don't always have to carry all of your water vessels in their full capacity. So the thing that I've done now that has really been another game changer for me, I only have one water bottle. It's 1.5 liters, so it's hefty, but I usually keep it half full at most and usually it's completely empty. And I also have started carrying a scoop with me, which is just a smart water bottle that I cut. So with a scoop, you have more accessibility to water sources you may not otherwise be able to get with just this. Obviously, a stream with a decent, like, I don't know, like a waterfall, like a cascading stream is going to be the best way to fill this thing up. And sometimes water sources look decent, but if you only have this, you really can't get to it. But if you have something like this, then you can fill it up and then obviously add it to your bottle. This is not rocket science, but when it comes to hiking, the less variable weight you can have, and water is one of the heaviest things that you carry during the duration of any trip. So being able to carry as little as possible, but have more options of where to get it, has really just been sort of a game changer for me. I also carry a 64-ounce Sawyer Bag, which I don't actually squeeze out of. I use it just to carry water at the end of the day. So this is 2 liters, this is 1.5 liters, so my total capacity is close to a gallon. It's 0.3 outside of being, 0.3 liters away from being a gallon. So that's more than enough water for one person, and this has not steered me wrong. And again, the majority of my shakedown hikes were in the fall and winter, so not necessarily the most sumptuous availability of water, but still, I never wanted for any water. I always had enough. And I'm reviewing that in my head to see if it's true. It doesn't matter. Point is, that was a huge revelation for me, and man, it really just makes a huge difference. When you have access to gut hooks, and or far out, or whatever, if you know where the water sources are, and you know your pace, and you know all of the things, and everything remains equal, nothing terrible happens, like you get stuck in a ravine or bad weather comes through, you can strategically plan how to get away with carrying as little water as possible. And so that's what I've done. It's something I've adopted. And I will speak real quick, on something else that I've done to this pack. This is a bit of a gripe against Osprey. I had to add these little bungee cords here to pull the water bottle back, because if you don't, the water bottle will just kind of dig into your side. Let me try to show you where the angle of that is. So if you don't use any kind of a strap, the water bottle is going to be like this, and it's going to be poking into your back the whole time as you walk, and that is extremely annoying. And so I think that adding something like this is something I did when I hiked in 2019. I did something similar anyway. And so adding these little bungee cords to pull the water bottle back so it's not digging into your side the whole time is pretty essential. And that's probably one of the few but major alterations I made to the pack itself, aside from like cutting all the straps back and things like that, which I did, and then I zip tied them to keep them from coming out of the buckles. The way you're supposed to do that to fit your straps so that you have the minimal amount of strap exposed necessary. You're supposed to put on all of your clothes, your winter gear, your sleep gear, your daily gear, your rain gear, and then you see where the straps lie on your body, and then you cut everything relative to that, so that you know when you have on the maximal amount of bulky outerwear, you're still going to have enough strap to have your pack rest comfortably on your body. So anyway, that's that. This is all good. Not too much, just some good REI Polartec gloves. I have been impressed by how well they stay dry, even when they are like wet on the outside. I've never really had them get soaked through, so that's kind of nice. I don't know how they do that, but Polartec, I think that has something to do with it. So usually have those on my fanny pack, which maybe we'll just go into the fanny pack from here, and in fact I guess I could just wear it. So I'm a fanny pack wearer. I enjoy having this on me pretty much at all times, even when I'm not hiking. And I have a little carabiner here, so I can have my gloves here, easily accessible. If I get too hot, I can take them off, put them here. They're always within arm's reach. I believe this is a 1 liter Osprey fanny pack, and it just has everything that I need. I typically will carry a pen with some duct tape around it, a mask for obvious reasons, little baby pocket knife, just a blade, a nail file, and some scissors with tweezers and a toothpick. I was definitely an MVP in 2019 because I was one of the only people in my family who had tweezers, which was on my Swiss Army knife. I've gotten a smaller Swiss Army knife now, sorry, Allie. And I still have the tweezers though, so having those to be able to get ticks off is pretty vital. Got a little baby lighter and some Burt's Bees chapstick. This is the best. If your lips could have an orgasm, it would be because this was applied to them. The peppermint beeswax lip balm from Burt's. Good stuff. Then I have my wallet, which is just, basic wallet ID, stuff like that. And this is the extent of my medical kit right here. So I have some tenacious tape, zip ties, a rubber band, and then I have a bunch of medicines, like single-use medicines. I have also my COVID vaccine proof, which I can't believe they do that on a piece of paper. That seems so antiquated and wrong. But anyway, I've got triple antibiotic in here, hydrocortisone cream, what is it? Benadryl, ibuprofen, aspirin, antidiarrheal, alcohol, prep pad, Band-Aids. I mean, I in 2019, as I am usually unable to avoid, I carried too much stuff, and one of the things that was way bigger than it needed to be was my medical kit stuff and repair kit stuff and all those kind of things. And the thing that you got to realize is that the majority of the time, if you need more medical stuff than you can conceivably and comfortably carry, then you're preparing for a situation that you're probably not going to be able to actually fix on your own, unless you've been trained with what is it, Knowles or Woofer or whatever that stuff is. If you don't know how to set a compound fracture, I don't know if that's something you can do to a compound fracture. If you can't do that, then you're probably not going to be able to do that. And no amount of butterfly bandages or various size of Band-Aids or antibiotic ointment, none of that stuff is going to help in that situation. So the best thing you're going to do in those situations is walk out of the woods and go seek professional medical attention. Which brings me to another point. We can go ahead and move on. I did end up getting this. This is an ACR Link 400. And let's do a little test for you, make sure it still works. Looks like it does, y'all. I think it should do a little bit more than that. Sweet, so we're good. So this is a personal rescue beacon. And I worked at REI, as I've mentioned many times, and so seeing all the Garmin InReach products and things like that, I was always kind of turned off to them because I don't like the idea of having to pay for a subscription in addition to buying a really expensive electronic item. I already have a cell phone, so I've already done that once. I don't really want to do that again. The ACR, however, is like a single-use rescue beacon, and so basically, if you're in a bad situation, I'll try to, let's see, how does this even open? Oh yeah. If you're in a bad situation, you flip this little antenna up, you push this button for however long, and then presumably someone comes to rescue you. And it basically sends out like an SOS signal on like all these different broadband frequencies, like AM, FM, all the stuff that like people who are rescuers will be monitoring. And then hopefully someone will see your message on one of those channels. And also the company, it does actually have directions here, which is nice. If your use of this product results in a successful and legitimate rescue, they actually give you another one. So this is $314 well spent. I've never been one to have anything like this, but I also have been one to go on a lot of trips by myself. And so, one of the things that I realized recently when I was living in Asheville, I went for a bike ride up to Mount Pisgah, and the Blue Ridge Parkway is the way that I took to get there. The Blue Ridge Parkway was kind of iced over. The conditions were pretty inaccessible for vehicles, for sure, let alone bicycles. And I just kind of realized while making my way up the road, if anything bad happened, I would not be able to communicate with anybody or to seek help. There would be no one coming by who would be hiking, biking, or driving because all the gates to the Blue Ridge Parkway were closed. Now, that being said, I did actually run into somebody up at Mount Pisgah, coincidentally, and he had one of these, which made me realize I needed to get one of these. It's just a little bit of security that, how much of a dumbass are you going to feel like if you're dying of hypothermia on top of Mount Pisgah because you fell on some ice and broke your collarbone and aren't able to get down to lower elevation where the gates for the Blue Ridge Parkway are open, and you're just thinking, oh wow, if I had spent $300, I wouldn't be dead right now or dying. So that's this is my insurance policy, and I'm very happy with it. I don't know how much it weighs, and I don't care. If it required 2 for them to be active, then I would get 2. Got some herbaceous materials here, natural medicines, we'll leave it at that. That goes in there. And I carry a little thing of Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap for washing my hands after making deposits and or before eating and cooking dinner. Nice thing to have. Always got to have a rubber band on this kind of stuff, because if it opens and leaks, you're going to be pissed. I'm going to be pissed. So that's that pocket. Really getting down to the wire now. Ooh, I guess I'll save the best for last. These. So let's just go into, I guess, personal hygiene. Pretty limited. I don't need much. Thankfully, my body isn't too disgusting when I'm out in the woods for a long time. Basic pair of fingernail clippers, a comb. This is like the extent to which I wash my hair, is just combing it while in the shower. It also is a good way, I think, to make sure you don't have any ticks on your head. Was that a text message? No. Using a comb at the end of the day to run through your hair just to make sure you don't have ticks on your head is a good thing. A nail file with an emery board, that's really important, so you can kind of carve, like, Lieutenant Dan very aptly said the most important thing you can do is like to take care of your feet. And taking care of your feet as a hiker is really, really important. So being able to like kind of file away hangnails or blisters or, basically just do minor foot surgery, having something like this, I would say, is vital. And then you just got the basic floss, foldable toothbrush, toothpaste, all the stuff you would expect for the most basic, hygiene. So all that stuff goes in here. I don't really need it to be in a bag, but for some reason, currently it lives in a bag. And that stuff typically just lives right here. Nothing to it. Electronics. Got a variety of cables for charging my phone, charging my headlamp, and charging my battery bank. Got 2 power plugs, power banks, power supplies. One for my cell phone, one that's a double-ended power bank for charging my headlamp and my battery bank. Extra set of headphones. I'm someone who really, really insists on having music all the time. Music, podcasts, audiobooks, gotta have it. And in order to make sure that you're never without, I carry a spare set of headphones. I'm partial to the Sony ones that cost about $10. They have a microphone. They're everything you could want. And I have a 10,000 milliamp hour battery. Let's see. It's the same one I used in 2019 on the Appalachian Trail. It's done me well. I have an Android phone, so the battery lasts a long time. All you iPhone users take note. So I don't really have to charge my phone, but maybe every other day. I typically do top it off anyway at night, but I think, one full battery of my power bank plus my cell phone, I can probably go for, I would think, no less than 5 days without having one or the other completely drained. So that's that. Go ahead and place those things on in. Might need a bigger bag, y'all. Probably do. This is a lot of stuff. So that lives up here. All that stuff is protected by my pack cover, so it stays dry in the rain. Go ahead and zip that up. Getting close to the weigh-ins, y'all. Getting close. For this other side pocket on my pack, I usually put snacks there, so it's empty right now. And dang, I guess it's time to talk about the old Speed Goats. So, the Speed Goat 4s, size 11.5. I've never really been one who is extremely partial to any type of footwear. I kind of just put shoes on and then I tell my feet that they got to deal with it. But getting into these shoes has really been a revelatory experience for me, and I've realized that a good shoe is a good thing. You know, I always thought Hokas were like really, really ugly and that they looked really stupid. And honestly, I'm not sure that that is untrue even to this day. However, I have, you know, it's an acquired taste perhaps, and I've just learned to love the way they look because it means it's a quality shoe. I have so little foot pain, even with like day in and day out inundation of non-stop hiking, walking, standing all day at work. I mean, it's amazing how much this foam like sole of this shoe just really cushions you and protects your foot from, you know, bad impact and things like that. I'm actually planning on wearing a pair of Salomons today when I run to the gym, and that's because my old Hokas have about 700 miles on them, and I think they're actually starting to deteriorate to a level that is not good for my foot. But I'm lamenting that fact because I love these shoes so much. Aside from the fact that they have this sumptuous sole to them and are comfortable on the top as well. Uh-oh, we got some people coming in. This grippy Vibram area has never made me slip. And so I love these shoes, can't say enough about them, and I hope you're enjoying all the beeps. So, all right, real quickly, before my parents come home and this gets real awkward, I'm going to do a weigh-in. I guess I should weigh myself first so we can figure out what the base weight is. 168.7. 168.7. I don't have any calculators. Yes, I do. 168.7. Hold on. Hold on. Fuck. Come on now. 168.7. And then with my pack on, can I do this before someone comes in? It's good enough. 168.7. $185.3. Huh, is that right? Huh. Well, that's saying that this is base weight of 16.5. That doesn't seem right. But, you know, I'll take it. And that pretty much concludes my gear video. My mom's about to walk through that door, and things are about to get a little less intimate between you and I. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, and I just wanted to do that for the sake of having it done, really. It was one of my items on my list before I hit the trail, and yeah, hopefully you found it interesting. Certainly couldn't have been very informative, considering I don't give you those nitty-gritty details, but in any case, it is what it is. So, bye for now.